Hey, good morning everybody. BDL44 coming at you with another video and the ugly hat again. I didn't shave the head and it's getting out of hand, so yeah, I'll let y'all see the hairline yesterday. I think I put it back on the hat. Put it back on the hat today. Alright, so look, this is what we're talking about. Before we get started on anything real, I just want to let you guys know. Kyrie Irving never said he was coming to the Drew League. He never said that. We got reports from side show media sources. I don't even remember if I saw it from real, actual ESPN-ish guys that were saying that he was rumored to be coming. And mind you, we got that information, 3 hours before the game? And it was one of those situations where they said since he didn't come into the game he was supposed to come into, which was 11 o'clock game that Brown wasn't playing in, it would be automatically assumed that he would show up for the Brown game, which was at noon or 3 or whatever time it was. They concluded that because he didn't show up for his game, that he would show up for Braun's game. Him not showing up for Braun's game, they were able to then effectively spin it as if he left Braun at the Drew League by himself when he never said he was coming to play at Braun's hour in the first place. That was never even insinuated. So I just want to get that out there. That was never even insinuated by his people. So yeah. Anyway, just want to put that out there because it's very important, because I'm watching a lot of people and I'm just looking at how they maneuver the name. They can very easily, one of these situations after another, continue to pile on how this guy's not worth such and such, while effectively wanting him to represent such and such. See, this is what I'm starting to think, and this is just my mind. When you look at Russell Westbrook, you look at contracts like that, right? The market itself does in fact react to these things. When you see Rudy Gobert go for 5 and 6 picks or whatever, when you see different moves made, it's not that the market can ignore it like I was saying it could. No, I've gotten educated since then. Now it's an understanding that because free agency exists, the market automatically is going to react to it, because those free agents are going to demand that dollar amount when they negotiate for their re-up. So that's what screws up the game. It's like Dame Lillard's not going to ask for 61 a year before that trade that the Timberwolves made. He doesn't get 61. He gets 61 after that deal, and that's essentially what I'm saying to you. So if all of that is the case, hold on, got to make sure the bacon doesn't burn. You know how I get down. It's an everyday occurrence. I'm going to make sure I don't lose sight of what I'm doing here. But when we get into a situation, we're fine with the bacon. Just keeping this breakfast thing going. So since we understand all of this, now we're in a space where we're looking at Kyrie Irving and we're saying they want someone, anyone, to be the opposite of that, to balance out the market. Meaning, we need a $47 million a year player to play at a $3 million a year rate to balance out the presence of the Russell Westbrook contract and the trade for Rudy Gobert and all this nonsense. It would in fact correct the market if you can get a guy like Kyrie Irving on a minimum deal. Because now you got him representing the $47 million worth of basketball that could be otherwise made up in other areas for the market. You see what I'm saying? It all connects to one another because it's all one salary cap being split, which is why all of this matters. And I think that's the important thing that we all need to understand when we talk about people's salary and money that's going to be made and this, that, and the third. I assure you, I don't care that Jokic got $261 million. I'll never care, right? I'll never care. And his contract is not the example that I would use because it's a good contract if you ask me, because he's the MVP 2 times over. But what I'm saying to you is, if I were to say that I have a problem with it or to agree with it, it would be about the circumstance of how much he represents in the cap and how much basketball he would be able to play to represent that. Can he play $267 million worth of basketball over the next 5 years? Now, in my opinion, of course. But that's the thing. That's what it's about. It's about measuring that. Rather than saying, I don't like that guy. He's 7 foot tall. I don't like 7-footers. He shouldn't get 261. Like, that's not what it is. But I think a lot of times when the conversation is had, it sounds that way. And for some people, when that conversation is being had, those two things blend. It's like, yeah, I'm assessing the situation, and I'm a hater. I ain't got no money, and I don't want to see you get any. And so it's kind of hard for people to understand where people are coming from. Are you one of those, or are you assessing the situation? And so for myself, I just understand that it might be confusing for some. I am letting it be known that I don't care who gets what. I think I think as the league progresses, we'll see players get even more money than what they're making now. So we better get used to these big paydays. If you're a hater like that, get used to it because they're getting more. So with all that being said, now we want to look at how we can correct that and not allow them to force narratives on these various players that they may be able to manipulate in such a way to bring their value down, allow them to continue to embeddedly plant these different little bitty seeds that ultimately come together to make you have a certain opinion about a player. And if you have that opinion, well, your perceived leverage, friend, you are consumer. So if the consumer isn't happy with the player, that's the leverage. Well, man, we don't want this guy. Look at the fans. They don't want Russell Westbrook. They're screaming he doesn't want to come back. Look at the fans. Look how they pay attention on ESPN and various different things. When the Lakers are being talked about, they watch. When they make fun of Russell's name, they watch. It's all a reaction to us, y'all. That's all it is. So, what I'm trying to do is get the people who watch me to be able to read the signs and know when you're being fed something that otherwise is bringing the value down of a player for reasons that may or may not necessarily have anything to do with the player and their behavior and getting at them for their behavior. No, it's not about correcting the behavior at all. It's about correcting the market and bringing that player's value down so that the market can feel a lot better about maneuvering itself. Now, in the presence of all of that, this is just a theory, mind you. This is just my theory. There's a lot of other angles that I can't see. But at the same time, it's like, I do see that they're continuing to use this man's name, telling us all kinds of stuff about him in regards, particularly Kyrie. Oh, he was showing up to the Drew League. He's going to show up. Everybody get excited about it. Oh, he didn't show up. Guess what he is? A continued flake. But the man didn't flake. He may have flaked once or twice in the past, so they can use the flake formula on him, right? But that's not what actually happened. They manipulated the circumstances to set us up, the consumer, to let us down. And then what do? They watch us blame the subject that they've made the situation about, instead of them for feeding us bullcrap. No. We're getting smarter out here. So that's essentially what I was trying to say, man. I think they're manipulating the market entirely, trying to react to some of the stuff that's been going on over the last, 15, 20 years, not just right now. I'm saying they've been doing this for a while, trying to find these little pockets of discounts on these superstar players that are messing up so they can pay them nothing. And that's essentially what I think is going on there, man. And, the players help, man. It's not like they're going to just create something out of nothing. You have to do something. You have to flake twice in order for them to now be able to do this. So you got to stay on your toes, stay professional. Don't give them a reason to screw you over. This is what Russell Westbrook's agent was essentially trying to express to us, that he expressed to his client. That you cannot just get traded over and over again and then think that it's going to work out for you as it pertains to your value, because now you become a player who's a journeyman. And once a journeyman becomes a journeyman, you can't get out of that. It's hard to get out of that, man. I think about a guy like Ish Smith. You know how many times Ish Smith has been traded? And the funny thing about it is every time I see him, he plays ball. He plays well. Everywhere I see him. I've never seen him in a situation where he's given minutes and he doesn't cook with the minutes he's given. But because he has the typecasting, I guess, as a journeyman, his contract is just automatically considered. When it's time to move, okay, we got his contract there, so automatically that's a movable contract. We're moving. What I'm telling you is teams are acquiring his contract to move it over and over and over and over and over and over again. It don't have nothing to do with how he plays. They're thinking when they bring it in, this is something we move around. And what I'm telling you is, how the hell does he get out of that cycle? And even more so, how do you not fall into that cycle if you're a guy like Russell Westbrook, who isn't playing well everywhere you go from here on out? If people are expecting you to play the way you just did, you don't get to be moving around 17 different times. Why? Is Ish able to continue to get moved? Because he does play well everywhere he goes. He is a player that plays up his value each and every time he goes to different places, which is why they keep having the ability to move him. He's not a dead asset. So, all in all, Russell Westbrook doesn't really necessarily have a path where he's going to be traded a million times for the betterment of his contract, or the rather because of the maneuverability of his contract. He's going to be looked at as a player like Carmelo Anthony, who, even if he's giving us minimum play, is going to act like he's a superstar, and we got to deal with his brain. We got to deal with his mind. We got to deal with wherever his opinion is going to take him this day. If he feel like he's a superstar again, maybe he's going to take 18 shots. It's harder to manage a role player like that. That's the way Ish Smith, it's just, he's a guy who's used to his role. He knows what's up, so he's probably going to play, sit for a little bit. He's going to come in, play his minutes, and he's looking probably to move. Like, this is the reality of the paths. We talk about paths a lot. That's what the theme of the summer's been, the paths the players take. And it really does affect their legacy in the various different ways they get started and how things go when they ultimately sign certain contracts. And so I turn my attention back to Kyrie Irving and KD. I look at KD in this situation. I say, look, Kyrie's situation is different because he opted in. He's going to be traded hopefully to the Lakers, where I think because he's so dang talented, all he has to do is be cool, and he's going to land with us. We ain't going to want him to go. I know what it looks like before he gets here. But if he comes here and is a model citizen, his game is going to keep us paying him. That's what talent is going to dictate. I don't think Russell has that going for him right now. I don't think Russell has that going for him. And so that's just what it is. I think in looking at the situation now, it's like, all right. So Kyrie's play right now, if we're going to focus on him, is to try to get back to that level of value that they're trying to knock him off of. And because it's such an exaggerated amount of pressure from the opposite end to make him look as bad as he allowed them to begin making him look, he's going to have to be even better of a citizen. He's going to have to try to play more games than maybe he's projected to play. He's going to have to try to stay healthy and in order to get his value up. And I think the organization can help with that by keeping the players in his position good enough to manage his absence. That's how you help with that. You help yourself and you help him by making sure you have adequate backup for him. So these are the little things I'm thinking about. Ain't got really much to do about the conversation, but this is how you protect yourself in the presence of all of this if you're acquiring that talent. And so that's what his mission is. For those who are wondering what I think Kyrie's main goal is, not to come to the Lakers and win a championship necessarily, is to try to earn his way back into a locked up contract situation where he has 3, 4, 5 years of guaranteed basketball play in the NBA. That should be the goal over the next 2 years for Kyrie. So if he can find that here, I'm pretty sure that'll be great. But if he can get that before he gets here with Brooklyn, I'm pretty sure he'd still be ready for that. Just being honest with everybody. I know that's something we've said once before. I still think if Brooklyn wants to give him a 5-year deal, then he will be more than happy to sign it. I just don't think Brooklyn's anywhere closer to making that decision. Now, because of all this that has happened, I think a lot of the pundits and the ESPN guys are telling them to bring Kai and KD back. So they may be warming up to the idea of what it looks like if they do so. And as we've talked about, this can go either way. But I think the presence of the Lakers having that second pick to offer is keeping the Nets in the game. I think they want that second pick, not, and this is just me speculating because I don't have nothing behind this, but it just seems like a lot of pressure has been put on the Lakers to get that pick, to lose that pick, and I think it's a power struggle about that pick. And it feels like principle more so than the actual value of the pick. It's like the world wants us to give up the pick for the same reason we said to start the video, to reset the market, or to I guess put a notch in that bucket, so to speak, of resetting the market. It ain't going to reset it entirely, but if we give up that pick, in theory, we already have that value represented in LeBron James, Anthony Davis, and of course Russell Westbrook, of whom's supposed to be a $47 million contract player. So you see, we're splitting up the pie in regards to the salary cap as a whole throughout all 30 teams. And we have a little more than we're supposed to have, according to those teams. But what we also know is we have the $47 million Westbrook contract, which is actually worth $2 million. See? So we go back to that cycle at the beginning of the video where they got to find that player somewhere else and make the money up that Russell's ultimately taking from the entire pot. That's literally what it is. John Wall was taking that money from the entire pot the last 2 years, because they weren't playing at an exorbitant amount, and it wasn't represented on the basketball floor for any team, not just the team he was playing for. And see, that is why there are other teams in cahoots with the Lakers getting rid of that pick in theory. And this is all just speculation, but this is the mindset behind that, because the Lakers have more than they should. That's it. That's exactly what it is. And it's like, that's not our fault that we were able to manage to get this all happening our way in our space. Not to mention that we've made other decisions that have not worked out in our favor, which has left us at a disadvantage, which makes that pick actually something that we need, not something that's a surplus to our cap. Our cap is actually it's a mirage. It's not actually real. We know that we have $47 million with a player that ain't playing at all. Might as well not be in Russell Westbrook. And then you look at the other situations. THT's contract's not properly represented. Austin Reeves is getting ready to be paid instead of the 3-year thing that we've talked about in the past. And so there's different things on our cap that isn't properly represented based on errors and different decisions. So I would tell the market, as I've been saying, that we don't have to give up that pick in order to make the market clear. You guys are just trying to tank us. The guise of us having more is something you want us to react to, when in reality, that's not even what we actually have. So that's why there's a power struggle over that pick. That is exactly what's going on, I believe, behind the scenes with that pick. It's a power struggle that's bigger than just two teams trying to fight over a player. No, this is about the Lakers having more than the rest of the field wants us to have based on that representative pick. And so the Lakers have to figure out how they're going to manage to get better and get Russell Westbrook off the books without giving up that pick. So see, as long as we have the guys of Russell Westbrook's $47 million, we can hold on to our pick according to the market. You see, that's the point that I'm not bringing up that needs to be understood. If the Lakers don't move, the market's fine, because we also have Russell Westbrook's contract, which represents the pick itself. Westbrook is not giving us that. The pick is, you see, that's the balance. But once we try to move Westbrook and keep the pick, you see the imbalance begins right there. That's where the imbalance starts. So as long as the Lakers don't do nothing, the market's not going to have a problem. The moment the Lakers move that pick, that's when they look at you like, hey, you got more than the rest of us. No, that's how that goes. So, yeah, because I see that so very clearly, the Lakers are in a spot where we're trying to win. We're trying to win. But the Lakers don't want to give up that pick. They want to have more, essentially. Because we know if LeBron James walks, we go from having more to having significantly less than the market. But the market's saying that's the cost of doing business with Bron, and you know that. That's essentially what they're telling Genie. That's what it is. So you have to risk that. If you want to get better with Bron, you have to risk that. You have to risk the idea of him leaving. And Bron plays right into that by saying, yeah, I'm going to leave if y'all don't give up the pick. Like, bro, if you it's the exact same thing with Russell Westbrook in regards to all the three of those guys getting on the phone and saying, hey, we're fine. That's the same thing I would say in regards to LeBron and that stupid picture where he was sitting next to that. Was he wearing a shirt that said F them picks or something? That was the exact same thing. That was essentially him showing his hand in regards to our franchise and not allowing us to get better. I don't think that helped him or us, because now we can't move. If anybody want to know why we really need to give up that pick, it's because of that picture. I'm telling you the truth. Once Bron said, give up the picks, the field said, give up the picks. And that's the elephant in the room. Bron didn't help us when he did that. Like, bro, just because you have this issue does not mean you need to let the field know you got this issue. Westbrook, just because you want to leave does not mean it's something you should tell the field you want to do. No. You're hurting us from a strategic standpoint, which will allow us to make the moves that you want us to make to get better. And in Russell's case, of course, so we can move you to a situation that will ultimately let your path be more pleasant, because you're not stepping on toes on the way out, brother. Jesus, that's what your agent was trying to express to you. You don't have a leg to stand on, so you stepping on toes with that? Yeah, no, not smart. Not smart at all, bro. So that's ultimately what it is. So I've seen people make mistakes. I've made mistakes. Shoot, I don't think I'd maneuver much better through in these circumstances than these players would, especially with the pressure. Yeah, it could be a bit distracting. You know, the time makes you move hastily. But look, if you mess up your leverage situation, no matter what side you stand on, if you mess up the leverage situation on the side you stand on, you're going to have a harder time. Until you get out from behind that wall, you're on their side. And that's what these players and these owners and everybody needs to understand. Yes, I want to leave the Nets. But until I get from behind the Nets paywall, so to speak, until my rights are with somebody else, the Nets having leverage will allow me to maneuver away from the Nets. So once I tell the Nets or tell the world I want away from the Nets, I've effectively decreased the possibility of the Nets being able to move me. Flexibility allows you to move, figuratively and literally in this situation. It's exactly what it does. So you need that. You need that, people. And so that's what all this is about, man. It's leverage, man. Everybody's learning leverage games in real time. Everybody's learning leverage strategy in real time. All of us. Mistakes have been made left and right, left and right. You don't sign this guy to the right contract at the right time. It can mess up everything down the line. You trade away this pick here, and you don't have a way away from this situation. And that's why Genie Bus is looking at the situation and saying, if I just maintain and do nothing, the market is happy with me. And we can go on and have flexibility at the end of this process. We keep our pick. Russell Westbrook walks away. 47 comes off the books. And my life is easy as possible. This is what I was explaining to you guys yesterday in the video that I made. Her life is easy as possible if she doesn't move right now at all. She's the one that hurts the most if she trades the pick. Not Rob, because Rob gets the kudos for doing the deal. Not Bron, because Bron's timeline's intact. He can go play for a championship. Not Reed, because Reed gets to be where he wants to be. Not Russell, because Russell gets out of his situation, which he wants out of. Nobody's set to take a hit for trading the pick, but ownership. Because once she does that, now she got a bunch of people pissed at her, on top of whatever risk comes with that. You know what I mean? Whatever risk comes with that. And if she doesn't do it, then she got Bron pissed at her. And whatever risk come with that. Which is why I'm looking at Bron saying, do you see the situation? Do you see it? Clearly? Because she's in between a rock and a hard place and you're telling her to squash herself to save you, to give you an opportunity at a championship. Respectfully, next to a guy who probably ain't going to stay healthy all year long. Maybe two, depending on the situation. So, like, the risk ain't worth the reward for her, and she's ultimately the final say-so. And that's why I'm trying to prepare everybody who watches me, because I see that clearly. It's not that I want Russell Westbrook back. I absolutely do not. In fact, I want us to buy him out. I think it gives us a better shot at winning, because I think he's that much of a detriment to our team in the style that he plays and how much he controls momentum. He hurts us. I truly believe that. But it does not benefit the Lakers to ever let anybody know that. And the media is saying that, and it's true, but we need to be very clear about the mask the Lakers must wear in the situation. So we know what we're looking at when we see it. They're going to always say they need to bring Russell Westbrook back, and the world needs to believe it. That's the only leverage we have. Because otherwise, if everything is laid out the way ESPN says that it is, then the Nets have a bunch of players that they can bring back with no trouble, and we got guys that we can't absolutely bring back because it's going to hurt us. Even though that's not exactly what's going on there. What's actually going on there is the Nets have two players that want out. One of them officially, the other not so officially. And then another player with a very bad back and mental health concerns. And they think all that's supposed to run back without an adequate bench or picks and win a championship. That's what they want to sell to you. That's not what's going on there. Our situation is we have Russell Westbrook, who's, because of all the pressure being applied to his name, no longer wants to be professional anymore. That's what we have here. Because of all the heaps of pressure and the heaps of bullying or what have you, this has been one of the worst experiences for him, and he wants to remove himself and probably his family from the situation. So at all costs, it seems he's ready to do that. And he don't want to be professional more. He certainly does not want to play for the Lakers anymore. He don't want to put the uniform back on. He doesn't want to go through another moment of that. And honestly, I would not either. So that's the reality of the situation. But for his benefit, again, you're on our side still. You have to cross the threshold before, you feel me? So for his benefit, he just has to get back on board with being professional, pretend like he wants to be here, and be ready to start the season with us. Be ready. Do start the season with us, because that's the only way you're going to get out of here. Same with Kyrie and KD. Do start the season with them, because it's the only way you're getting out of there. You have to audition for these people. That's the only way they're going to be willing to move. It's the only way. And so, unless something happens that I don't see, they're probably not going to be willing to make a move. Why? Because everything we explained for the first 8 minutes. Because they know Jeannie's in that spot, and they wanted to move that pick. That's why they're all talking about Brooklyn and having all this leverage, when we know Brooklyn's players don't even want to be there. They don't even want to be there. Brooklyn, by all accounts, is two superstars that want to be in the same place so long as it isn't there. That's the specifics of the situation. So look, man, I ain't not buying nothing about the leverage as it pertains to what they're paying for us. It looks like that to a degree, but it's not the way they want it to seem. It's just not. So, as we look at this Russell Westbrook contract, I do agree it's getting harder to move it. It is getting harder to move it. I will concede that that is the case because of this little stunt and everything that's been going on. It would have been nice if guys just continued to let Darvin Ham do the talking, because everywhere he's gone, he has let everybody know just how intricate his plan is for Russell Westbrook, which is the best level of leverage that we have in regards to the situation. His plan is our best leverage. Because as long as he keeps telling people X's and O's of how he's going to use Russell Westbrook, you can't say nothing. Because he's going to try this stuff. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But the point is we have it in place. So you can, in fact, not do the deal, and we can, in fact, go back to our drawing board and be fine with that. And that is the leverage. So as long as we're doing that, we're cool. But when people are getting up tweeting and talking and agents doing all this stupid stuff, man, the value of what we have just continues to decrease with every single tweet. So in my humble opinion, where we're at right now is I think Darvin needs to keep talking, and everybody else probably shut up. I think that's what it should be for the next week. I don't think we should hear nothing from anybody but Darvin Ham. He should be going on a press run to reestablish his commitment to Russell Westbrook and the plan that we have. That should be the mission for this week. If the Lakers really doing their part, you see that through. You get exaggerated with it. That's all we talking about is Russell Westbrook and how we're going to use him, because it is our biggest problem. So it stands to reason why we would. So yeah, that's what I think the Lakers should do, and continue to stand strong. If it works for Ainge, it should work for us. So anyway, that's pretty much what I got to say, man. I wanted to give y'all a Laker talk, I guess. Go eat some breakfast. I did not burn my bacon. Happy about that. So yeah, man, that's what I got. Hopefully we can continue to work on the aspects of the situation that we understand. I try not to give you guys X's and O's basketball talk. I don't know the terminology well enough to even bring that to you, to be honest with you. I know what I'm looking at from an artistic standpoint, but I ain't no player, you know that. I kind of attack it from this perspective, to read the tea leaves, what the GM kind of stuff looks like to me. And as I learn, I realize things are more complicated than even I expected them to be once you start talking about taxes and things of that nature. But all in all, as we get more educated, we're going to help the people who watch me have a mindset that looks straight through the media. We're looking through them if possible. And what we're going to look at is what information is being given to us, from whom, and why. And then when we understand that, we should know how best to maneuver ourselves so that we can help our teams as consumers. That is the goal. Because we're trying to win a championship, and we know that there are a lot of people who don't want us to do that over here in Lakerland. But they've always not wanted us to do that, and you know what we've done? Won in spite of it. So that's what's going to happen going forward, and there's nothing they can do about it. So that's what I got, man. My name is BDL44. I thank you all for watching. I'm out.